I'm going to go slow, okay? This is probably the hardest part of the test, and there's some vocabulary words that you have to know, so like degree, zeros, multiplicity, total number of zeros. Here's a polynomial, and I typed it in. So let's go ahead and graph it. I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And I'm going to answer statement A. It's going to be the fourth degree. And you might be asking, why is it fourth degree? Because of the highest exponent is fourth degree. Now, coincidentally, 4 is also the number of zeros a polynomial has. So for B, we're going to answer the zeros by looking at the graph. So the first 0 is 1, 2, 3, so it's -3. So x equals -3. Now, if you want to check, go to menu, analyze graph, 0. So that's x equals -3. If you want to find the other 0, so there's the other 0, x equals -1. And of course, the last 0 is 1. Now, we know that there should be 4 zeros. 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use synthetic division, because I got to figure out which of these is being repeated. And if I do synthetic division, then I can find that missing 0. So I have -3, I have 1, 6, 8, -6, -9, 8, 9. Remember that it has to be in descending order. Bring down the 1. So you have -3, so that's 3. That's -9, so that's -1. -3 times -1 is 3. So that's -3. -6 plus 3 is -3. -3 times -3 is 9. That's it. We knew that. Because that's one of the characteristics of a 0 or a root. The remainder is going to be 0. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to repeat it with -1. So I have 1, 3, -1. I'm going to use this quotient. Since I already found 1 0, I need to find the remaining 3. So I'm going to go ahead and try -1. Bring down the 1. -1 times 1 is -1. 3 minus 1 is 2. -1 times 2 is -2. -1 plus -2 is -3. -1 times -3 is 3, so that's 0. So now I'm going to try 1. And you might be saying, well, what am I going to use? I'm going to use this quotient. So I have 1, 2, -3. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3, so that's 0. So here we have a degree of 2. I'm sorry, this degree is going to be, the quotient is going to be degree of 3. This degree of 2. This degree of 1. So what do I have? I have x plus 3 equals 0. So x equals -3. So we know which one is repeating. It's actually x equal -3. X equal -3. That's a multiplicity of 2. This is a multiplicity of 1. And there's a multiplicity of 1. Find the total number of zeros. Count the multiplicities of all zeros. And I already did that. So this is multiplicity of 1, multiplicity of 1, and then the -3 is a multiplicity of 2. When we say multiplicity, that means it's repeating itself twice. Okay, so I answered A, B, and C, because I told you the multiplicities. D, I did find all the total zeros, so I did find D. And then here is my sketch of my graph. And so I've answered A through E. I'm going to go ahead and do this next one. Now this one has a power of 5. So that tells you that I'm going to have 5 roots. So let me go ahead and pause the video. So g of x is equal to negative x to the 5th minus 2x to the 4th plus 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 4x. And I want to state the degree. The degree is 5. So what does that mean? I have 5 zeros. And it's asking me to find the zeros. So remember the shortcut, because it's asking me to use a calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. I don't have to do double the work. So I'm just going to erase all this. So I start with negative x to the 5th power minus 2x to the 4th power plus 3x to the 3rd power plus 4x squared minus 4x. And it's always good to go back and check if you typed it in correctly. So it's negative x to the 5th, negative 2x to the 4th plus 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 4x. The constant is 0. You don't have to indicate it. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. This point is a 0, and in this case, it already did it for me because of the previous function. Negative 2, 0, and then the other one is 1, 0. I still have another 0, so I'm going to go to menu. I'm going to go to the menu, analyze graph, and I'm going to look for the 0. And so here are my zeros. I have negative 2, 0, 1, 0, and I'm going to list them. So I have x equals negative 2, x equals 0, x equals 1. So I'm missing 3 zeros. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use synthetic division. So I have negative 2, it's negative 1, negative 2, 3, 4, negative 4, and 0. So it has to be in descending order. We have negative 5, so that's negative 1, negative 2, 3, 4, and then we have x, which is negative 4, and then we have 0. So I'm going to bring down the negative 1. Is 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. 3 plus 0 is 3. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. 4 plus negative 6 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, so it's 0. The next one I tried was x equals 1, so I put 1 here. Bring down the negative 1. 0 plus negative 1 is negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 3 plus negative 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and that's 0. So now we have negative x squared minus x plus 2. And I notice I don't want to work with a negatively leading coefficient, so I'm going to multiply by negative 1. I'll multiply by negative 1, so I have x squared plus x minus 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative 1 times 2 is, okay, so you can factor. So it's x minus 1, x plus 2 equals 0. So we have x equals 1, and we have x equals negative 2. And we have 1, and we have negative 2, and we have 1 and negative 2. So 1 and negative 2 are a multiplicity of 2. And x equals 0 is a multiplicity of 1. Kind of a different situation in this problem. So what is repeated? Negative 2 is repeated, and 1 is repeated. So 0 is a multiplicity of 1. Okay, guys, I just realized the latter part of the problem, you didn't see it. So what I did is I went ahead and fixed it here. So I moved the video. So actually what I did is I tried negative 2, and I tried 1 because I found it graphically. So I'm just showing you the synthetic division that I did. I found 2, so I have 2 remaining. Actually, the fifth one is x equals 0. Like I said, I have 2, so 2 are remaining here. And the fifth one is 0. So I multiplied this by negative 1, and I noticed when I saw this quadratic, I noticed I could factor. Because the factors of negative 2 are negative 1 and 2. And then when you add, you get 1. So here are the factors. Here are the zeros. So x equal negative 1, x equal 1, and x equal negative 2. And you can see here that I have a multiplicity of 2, because negative 2 repeats itself, and 1 repeats itself. That's a multiplicity of 1. And here is a graph. So actually this point and this point are being repeated in the problem. I intend to bring this all together now, so I'll just erase this for right now. For example, if you're given this problem, you know that it says list the real zeros. And we know that we have 4. We definitely know there's 4 zeros or 4 roots. And if I had to guess what they could be, I'm going to write the possible roots. So I'm going to look at my constant. And I'm going to start listing the factors of my constant. So 21, 7, 3, and 1. These are all factors. And in this problem, we're going to have to compare it to the leading coefficient. In this case, it's understood as 1. So it's plus or minus 1. So if I had to pull, what are some possible zeros or possible roots? It'd be positive 1, positive negative 1, 21, positive negative 7, positive negative 3, positive negative 1. I'm going to cheat. And just to make my life easier, I know I could have guessed and checked some of these using synthetic division. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my graph. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to list the terms here. We have x to the 4th plus 2x to the power 3. And I have minus 10x squared minus 14x plus 21. So always double check, because I always make errors. X to the 4th, 2x cubed minus 10x squared minus 14x plus 21. Press enter. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I got lucky. Why do I say I got lucky? Because all my roots are here. So in this problem, let's say you were taking a test, and it's asking you to list all the real zeros. I would just simply go to the so we have x equals 3. So I would go to the menu, analyze graph, 0. And here's the second 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. a little bit. Maybe zoom out. I lost my graph. Zoom standard. There it is. So yeah, you can just go to zoom standard if you get stuck like I did. I'm going to go to menu, analyze graph. I'm going to get the other 0. There's the other 0, and I bet you anything it's going to be positive 2.6. Or maybe not 2.6. Well, it is positive 2.6. So I have my zeros here, negative 3, 1, negative 2.6, and 2.6. And they're all real, so you're good to go. And you notice that 1 and 3 are here, 1 and negative 3 are here. Now these are irrational. Another, there's a radical, but it's okay. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We found it. Find all the roots. We have y equals negative x to the 4th plus x cubed minus x squared. Now 1 minus 1, that's 0. So what I'm going to do is I can factor out x squared. Negative x to the 2nd power plus x minus 1. So I have x squared because I factor x squared. So it's negative x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. So x squared, if I'm going to put x squared here on the side, x squared equals 0. So x is going to have to be equal to 0 because when you get the square root of both sides, it's 0. Now the 2 indicates that it repeats. So this one has a multiplicity of 2. So now I just got to worry about the quadratic. Negative x squared plus x minus 1 equals 0. I don't want to deal with a negative leading coefficient, so I multiply times a negative, both sides. So you have x squared minus x plus 1 equals 0. Now, there isn't any factors that will add up to give you negative 1, so I'm going to have to use a quadratic formula. By the way, I'm going to give you the quadratic formula. You're going to have it available. So x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Negative 1 plus or minus square root the discriminant 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times 1 divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. I'm going to move it up just a little. So we have x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root. So the discriminant, by the way, when I say discriminant, it's this right here, this expression. 1 squared is 1, and that's 4. 1 minus 4 is negative 3 over 2. So what are my imaginary answers? Negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 3 over 2. So what are my roots? X equals 0, x equals 0, and these are my two imaginary roots. Remember, you're not going to see it graphically. And it was power 4, so here are my 4. So I'm going to go ahead and go to a new graph. And I'm going to type it in just the way it is there. Negative x to the power 4 plus x to the power 3 minus x squared plus 1 minus 1. I'm going to press enter. And you notice it goes right through 0. And it repeats twice. The other ones are imaginary. You can't see the imaginary imaginary answers. So these are the imaginary answers, and these are the real answers, which is repeated. So this is a multiplicity of 2. And this is just a multiplicity of 1 for each of them, because one's positive, the other one's negative. Okay, guys, you just have to study it. Just do it with me, and then, you'll get better, and you'll understand the material as we go throughout the course. You just have to practice it. Bye, guys.